To order and ask Councilman Rustin to lead us in our invocation.
Sure, let us pray. Dear God, thank you so much for the opportunity to join as a group tonight, Lord. We thank you so much for just being able to do that. And God, we thank you, Lord, for the change of seasons and the cool weather that we're experiencing, God. As we're about to enter the holiday season, Lord, I ask you, Lord, just let us be thankful for all that we're given during that time. And Lord, I ask you just to be with the meeting tonight. Let the things that are discussed be for the benefit of the city. God, I ask you, Lord, to be with the people that are maybe sick and hurting tonight, Lord, and let them have comfort and healing in their bodies. God, Lord, just be with the people that help the city, protect the city and make it go on a day-to-day basis. And I ask you, Lord, just again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be with everyone tonight. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
You'll stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll put the agenda up there and let's take a look at it and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Lilly.
Here.
Mizell.
Here.
Rustin.
Here.
King. Here. Phillips.
Here.
Mayor Mitchell.
Here. And everyone's here, so we have a quorum. So I'll let you continue to take a couple of minutes to look at the agenda. Pretty much standard agenda. And the first item is the approval of the minutes from the October 4th regular council meeting. The council's been provided a copy of the minutes ahead of time. Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes? If not, then let the record show that the minutes were approved by unanimous consent. And we'll start with our department head reports and the police department.
Well, everything is going pretty well. Safety is right. We do still have 2 on-the-job injuries. Got 1 still out with back injury. Mavis and Mike Peppers is out still with a hand injury. Probably looking at another surgery with that. We're on course with our budget. We are down 2 officers. There's 2 positions that come up that you guys approved in the 2023 budget, and we're also having 1 dispatcher going to UAB as a medic. So she got an opportunity to go there. She's with us and go in there. Besides that, all equipment's in good shape. Our departmental training continues. As usual, school traffic, Highway 25 traffic still has been a problem. We set officers out there to try to slow folks down. It's starting to get someone under control, but we don't have anybody to put out there. It's an issue, so it's something we just continue to work on. We just ask everybody just to be aware that hey, when school is either letting in or letting out, just remember to slow down in your school zone, especially on 25 in Northern Town. Like I said, the 2 positions for the officers. There's another highlight I guess the mayor's going to talk about later on about the grant that we got for 2 more officers. And then that's about it. I did have one other thing that I didn't get an opportunity to put on this. I was just kind of leaving some guidance from the council. We're having an issue with parking coming down the drive during court. And there's a couple things we want to try is either paint the curb yellow or put up some no parking signs. And it's basically a problem that people, they park from the top of the driveway all the way down to the bottom. And of course, it's so close to people who are pulling in, the employees, people backing out, and it's just been an issue. So that's something that I might want to look at and give some ideas. That's about it.
When you say you're down 2 officers, that's not that you've lost 2. That's
No, we have not lost 2. Well, I've got 2 out on injury.
Right, yeah.
No, we have 2 positions open, brand new positions.
2 new
open.
positions.
Will the grant add 2 more on top of that?
Yes.
Are these gonna be the school resource
Yes.
folks right here?
We have, what we're doing is we have 2 officers that are already here that we're putting in the school resource position, and this is gonna replace them. Yeah.
Any other questions for the chief? Okay, thanks, chief. Admin?
Everything is going good in admin. We are down a janitorial employee. I listed that as full-time. Hoping to get people in because of benefits and everything, but we could make do with part-time if we got somebody. So if you know of anybody, please tell them to apply. Fiscal year 22 will close on September 28th. That's next Friday. So that'll be the last time we cut any checks out of the 22 budget. So then October 31st, that Monday, I can have reports ready for department heads and council to, to finalize their last year budget. And then I will be in training tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday for clerk's training. Then at the bottom is the September year-to-date activity for expenses and revenues.
And as Charlene said, that will change some because we have some payables that were accrued prior to the end of the fiscal year. And that will get charged against September when those payments are made.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be some minor adjustments to those numbers. Any other questions for admin or clerk? Okay. The court.
I don't know how to go first. Nothing major. The two things really of interest is myself and the prosecutor and both magistrates, Lisa and Terry, went to conference in Gulf Shores for training. And they got their graduation through for magistrate school. They're certified magistrates now at this point in time, which will help me some. But everything's running along fairly well. We had a gigantic court. The first court of the month is always the larger court because it's the first court date of the month. We had a lot of people in here. Almost every seat was full, and it took us a while to run through it, but we got through them. I don't have any major issues. Collections will go up and down very based on the economy. When I go to these seminars, and I've been going to them for almost 40 years now, my takeaway from the seminars, and they're put on by the state, and they're usually quite good. And they bring in people from all over the country that are specialists or specialists in Alabama. And my view on that, I mean, I was in a room with 120 people, and 100 of them were judges, and some of them were prosecutors, and you get to bounce off ideas off other people. But my view has always been to figure out what we're doing right more than to figure out what we're doing wrong. And by and large, we're doing everything right. Now, the legislature has just passed some new law at the state that we've got to comply with. It doesn't have to be complied with for 2025. I talked with Lisa today. I think it'll be fairly easy to do. After the fiasco in the city up north where they were stopping people, and it was 56% of the city budget, the legislature said we can't have municipal court producing 56% of the city budget. So they passed some law that says that we now have to give some information. And again, that's three years out, and I don't really have a problem with us complying with that because we have good numbers to deal with. But outside of that, the courses were good. They were informative. You get to talk to lawyers and judges. I mean, I got to talk to the judge from Mountain Brook. Interesting young man. A little different perspective than I have. Obviously, we deal with different folks. But a lot of things are happening that are going to help us that are now the state's doing online. The example is driver's license. If you don't have a driver's license, you used to have to go to Montgomery or one of 3 or 4 places. It was very difficult to get a license if you were suspended for some reason and you needed a hardship license. They've revised the hardship license rules where if you need a license just to go back and forth to work, you can do that online now. The thing I don't think a lot of them understand is there's a lot of people that can't do anything online, me particularly. But it is a help that if you need a hardship license, you can get a hardship license online. You don't have to go to Montgomery. That will help us somewhat. Police write a lot of tickets for no driver's license. I mean, there's a lot of people out there driving that just simply do not have a driver's license for one reason or another. But my takeaway from that 2-day seminar, actually 3-day seminar, was that we're doing everything pretty well correctly. Didn't see anything major that we needed to correct. Lisa and Terry continue to do a good job. And I'll shut up because Al said I talked too much.
I have
Any
one.
questions?
I have a question for you.
A question.
Going about the legislation with the Brookside. Has there been any changes in the amount of revenue from municipal fines, traffic fines, et cetera, that a city gets to keep? Are there
No.
any changes to that?
Now, we get to keep a small portion of the court cost. Court cost is I think something needs to be done about that, but it needs to be done at the state level. We only get a tiny fraction of the court cost, like speeding ticket is $196. We get the $20 fine, and we get, I think, $36 of that. The rest of that's $176 of that is court cost. $20 is fine, and $176 is court cost. I think we get $36 for that. So for their efforts to write a speeding ticket, we get $56. I mean, it's almost their effort and my effort and the prosecutor's effort and the magistrate's effort. It's almost a point of diminishing returns. But the same way with misdemeanor possession, marijuana, misdemeanor possession of anything, misdemeanor theft, shoplifting. Court costs on those cases are $300, $350, $400. We get a tiny fraction of that. I mean, it goes everywhere. It goes into the police officer's fund. It goes to a lot of it goes to the
American Village.
Montevallo over there to the American Village. Money goes over there. So the answer to that question is no. There's nothing that has passed that will help us get any more dollars out of that.
So, and pardon my ignorance here, but does some of the money that goes to the state, does it go straight to the Treasury, the Department of Revenue?
It's divided up, and I can't even tell you how many different categories are there. Probably
A lot.
20,
Because
probably
it goes
20,
to
15 or 20
county and
categories.
state.
It goes into the police officers.
But do we send it to one place and then they divvy it out, or
Nope.
do we have to?
We divvy it
Is
out.
that right? I was just curious.
It
if
goes
some
to a
of it
lot of
comes
places.
back to us through the ADECA grants that the police department gets. Hard to tell.
We get very little, of, like I said, speeding ticket, we get very little of that. Now, what that has driven, where that has put the municipal courts is you have to be a little bit creative and sometimes, and driving school is a perfect example of that. We send people to driving school because they don't want that ticket on their license. If a police officer agrees to that, and we have some written criteria, it's written criteria that I have. Somebody comes in, a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid, they want to do driving school, fine. We have some, again, guidelines. We'll let them go to driving school. We actually make a little more if they go to driving school. We get to drop the ticket, we make a little more money, and it doesn't go on their license. So that's kind of a win-win all the way around. And so, there's some things that kind of not forced us into doing, but you look at a little bit to see if there's some other options on different cases. Again, please come. Last court would have been a marvelous court to come to. It worked probably smoothest we've had it work in a long, long time. The prosecutor was on top of everything. Public defender had prepared. My police officers that we needed were present. Sometimes it looks like organized chaos. Lisa and I will be literally slinging paper at one another, but we know what we're doing. And so, come to court sometime. It's kind of interesting. I get tired of people telling me that the courthouse can't dispose of cases. We disposed of about 100 cases in 2 hours, and they can't. They got 8 judges over there.
Any other questions for the judge? Thank you. That was very informative.
Yes, it was.
All right, Public Works.
Yes, sir. Everything's running pretty smooth in public works and stuff. The two young guys that I hired is working out fairly good stuff. They're still trying to catch on the way we're gonna do things and everything. The stuff that y'all approved in the budget and stuff, as far as the backhoe and the new farm tractors cut the road right away has been ordered and should be here in February is what they're shooting for. I figure it's probably gonna be March or May if we're lucky. All the repairs we agreed on at Bolton Field, at the press box and the bleachers is completed and been done. It's been all repainted and the bleachers done. So it looks good. They done a good job on it. So we got rid of all the rock stuff on it. It was in, and me and Rico, it was in worse shape than what we realized. And once we went to, we thought we'd just get away with tearing a few pieces of siding off and it down, but the more we tore off, the worse it got. Windows has been resealed and stuff, so it's in good shape now. Other than that, everything's running smooth.
Was the front window on that open? How
No.
the fuck it doesn't know?
Added the new tops on it and stuff. So it's in good shape now.
It does look good.
Looks nice.
All right. Any other questions for Al? Okay, thank you. Board reports, Planning Commission?
You wanna go or you want me to go? Okay. We met last Thursday. We had 2 applications for a pre-zoning. Those are both on like kind of the corner of, Joinertown and Rocky Ridge. One is High Point Development, where there, and I forget how many lots there was now, 8 or 10, not many lots. Yeah. Behind it, somebody has purchased the land already, but they want to annex into the city. And, we saw the video at the last council meeting for the Christian retreat for the young adults. So the application was approved by Planning Commission, so at our next planning meeting on November 10th, we'll have a public hearing to pre-zone. If that's approved, then it'll come to council probably at the end of December. It'll be the first ordinance will be to annex in. If it's annexed in, then we'll do the pre-zoning on the one property. Then the other property is contingent on that. So if one passes, then we'll do the same thing for the next properties. That's all we had on planning and zoning.
So they can't do one without the other?
Yeah, because one has to annex in and be in city limits, and then the next one would be, because it's contiguous
Yeah,
with it.
We can't zone it until it's in.
And you can't zone, so you have to annex,
We have to annex.
zone,
I got you.
We
then
can
the
do
next
them-
property you can annex
Yeah,
zone.
with the pre-zoning though, it just lets the property owners know that we intend to. to
And then
zone.
they do everything at the council meeting instead of coming before us, annex, and then have to go back through the whole process to rezone. Because they're looking to get started, especially with the camp, by the end of the year or the first of the year if possible. So,
First of 2023?
they're ready to go.
Good.
Any other questions for planning? Okay, Recreation Board.
We will meet, next month. I think it's on when's Veterans Day? It's on the 14th. Is that a Monday? The 13th? I think it's the 14th.
But didn't you meet the Monday after the last meeting, or was it before the last meeting?
We met last in September.
Oh,
So we'll
So you
meet
meet
next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right.
But to Al's point, we're getting a lot of things done. There's only one thing left to do at the softball fields is to revitalize those dugouts, and then after that, that project will be done. So a lot of good work's been done, so we should be happy with that. So Al, thanks for coordinating that and getting done. So very happy with that.
Well, since we brought it up anyway, any other questions for Recreation?
Yeah.
Okay. Al, what's going on at the Water Board?
Just approved their new budget for the fiscal year and approved the cost of living raise, and that's about it.
How is the meter change out
It
going?
is close to being done down on the river and stuff. They still lights on here in town and stuff. But they're getting close.
Because I know, I don't believe mine's been changed, and I've had some other people ask me about it that say that theirs hasn't been changed here in town, so.
They've had trouble keeping people here and not having to send them somewhere, trying to get them caught back up in other places and stuff. But I'm gonna say they probably at least half, maybe a little more than halfway done with the old system.
All right, so they've been working on it a long time, so the
They
question
got
is,
to,
did,
I think February.
February? Okay. All right. Any other questions for the water board? Okay. Okay, this is the ordinance for the sale of the property. We brought it up at the last meeting as the first reading for discussion. So this would be the second reading. And I believe we can do a single motion to consider the ordinance and have any additional discussion that we might need to have. So is there a motion to consider the ordinance? So if there's not a motion, this thing will die and it'll just potentially keep coming up. So I would like to make a motion that we consider this ordinance and see if we could get a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, so is there any other discussion that anybody would like to bring up from the last meeting? Okay, so if there's no further discussion, let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Lilly,
No.
Councilmember Mizell,
No.
Rustin,
No.
King,
No.
Phillips,
No.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes. Okay, the ordinance failed, and so I think we've disposed of this particular ordinance since we have considered it. Okay, this is what resolution that deals with an issue that Chief Bowers brought up. I've actually had this on my mayor's report. So I'm going to go over a little bit more again. Well, why don't I just go ahead and skip to just let people know. So we got this COPS grant. Community
Oh, it's down there.
oriented policing services. Couldn't read it, I'm sorry. I'm looking at it real hard. So this email came in on the 13th of October, which was last week, that basically notifying us that we had gotten the award. And I think this is great. And I want to commend Chief Bowers, Lieutenant Knighton, Sergeant Perry for the work that they did on this thing in order for us to get this grant. The grant is $250,000, but the project, I think, is $373. 373, 979.72. So basically, the grant covers 2/3 of the cost of 2 additional officers. It also will, we can use that money towards its salary. It's for entry-level officers, benefits, and we can use that money while they're in training. So if we need to recruit somebody that we need to send to the academy, then we can pay their salaries for that as well. So, and it will cover those 2 positions for 3 years, and then after that, we will be doing it. So, you know, we've got the folks that are going to being the school resource officers, and then now this is going to let us hire 2 basically patrol officers. So this is really a good deal, and I really wanted to commend the chief and the department for, bear with me guys while I back up to this. Basically all the preamble tells you that we applied for the grant, we got the grant. The project is rounded $374,000. The grant is for $250,000, which is 2/3, and then our match is a third. And so I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution to allow me to accept this award because there's certain obligations that the city has to meet in order to get this grant, and that we're committed to the $124,000. It's in essence a contract, and therefore I need the council's authority to enter into that contract.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a recommendation. We accept resolution 102202 is accepting the award for the community-oriented policing services hiring grant.
Second.
Okay, and would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Lilly,
Yes.
Mizell,
Yes.
Rustin,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes. Okay, and so the resolution is passed.
I do have a question
Yeah.
for that. So that's just a lump sum of money for 3 years. Does it end every year and it recycles another allotment of money?
So what it does is the $250,000 from the state pays, like I said, it's a three-year deal, okay? And so they pay 100% of the officer for the first year, 50% or 75% of the officer for the second year,
Okay.
or maybe it's 50% the second year, then 25% the third year, and then after that, they're yours, and you have to keep them from up to 12 months. The difference, the 123,9772, is the difference between the second and the third year. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if you send, two questions. If you send them to the academy, does that affect the money that's available to them?
It will affect a little bit.
Okay.
Two people going to the academy, of course, you have to hire them.
Uh-huh.
They have to be full-time employees.
Right.
Sending them to the academy is about, 2 years ago, it was right at about 16,000 per cadet or person that you're sending to the academy. So you're looking at roughly about 30,000.
Yeah.
Just send both of them. That might have gone up just a little bit.
So it saves significantly if you don't have to send them to the academy then.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. The other question, you said you had to keep them a year. Are they obligated to stay with the municipality for a year to?
If we hire them under this grant, then we're gonna ask them to sign at least a 2-year contract to stay with the city.
Good.
So that, because I think the grant stipulates that it's for new hires and you can't use it for rehires. So
Right.
if somebody was to come in under the grant and paid by the grant, if they left, then we wouldn't be able to use that money to rehire them if they decided to come back.
So my understanding is that it was for new hires for entry-level positions, which means it's unlikely you're gonna hire somebody who has been to the academy.
Right.
And we're gonna have to send them, so this will certainly help.
Oh, so that's
In that
that's
regard.
the plan that we would most likely have to send them.
That's the
probably?
most likely plan. Like I said, to hire an entry-level officer, then that means that they most likely have not been to the academy.
Well, that's probably a good opportunity for somebody that's